Hello guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make NPCs for Unturned with Boetti's NPC Maker. So to start, I'm going to show you the basics. We're going to cover all of the options at the top of the screen. So to start, we have File. Clicking this gives you access to a bunch of those things. Create a new project, open a project, save a project as. Under Edit, you just have Find and Replace, which does exactly what you think. In Settings, we can access all of this stuff. You have General for general stuff, Interface for changing your UI, miscellaneous stuff such as the Discord Rich Presence, which is basically your status thing on Discord. You can import your Unturned stuff, and this is the Export tab. I've never used this, and I don't think you really need to. And then under Advanced, you can change a few other things, such as experimental features, which could cause app crashes. Under project settings, you can add hooked asset folders, you can change your ID range, you can do all sorts of things here. Not really. But we don't really need this tab currently. You can click contact or donate. I would suggest donating to him, considering this is a free and open source software. So anyway, to get started, we're going to click the plus in the top right under the characters window. We have characters, dialogue, vendor, quest, currency, and error list. We'll cover all of those except for currency, which is a more advanced feature, which we'll get into later, which I really wouldn't suggest using anyways because he has the asset editor, which works significantly better. So we'll click the plus in the top right, and now it'll generate a new character for us to edit. So over in the little area on the left, we have the editor name, which shows up in the map editor. You'll type this in to find it when you're adding it to your world or your map. We're going to give it a name here. I like putting little brackets around my stuff to organize different projects. We'll name it Tutorial NPC if I can spell. The display name, which shows up in-game, as you can see in that little screenshot. This is what players will see when they hover over it and when they open it up. Or you can also color code it with generic like XML-esque formatting. More on that later. Then we have our character ID. This is a number anywhere between 1 and 65535. I would suggest going higher than 2000 at first. So now for the start dialog, we're going to input an ID here. We're going to call it 5555. Our character ID 6969. The holiday restriction allows us to choose what holiday times the NPC is visible during. So if we were to select like Halloween, it'd only be able to be seen during the Halloween period of time. We can set our visibility conditions here. There's all sorts of stuff. We'll cover them more later. We can also regenerate our GUIDs through here. That's that little string of text and numbers up there. So now we're going to move on to equipment. I gotta hide my taskbar real quick. There we go. These are like what the NPC has equipped and is carrying and that you can see is owned by him item-wise. We're going to paste in an ID here. Primary is what he's essentially going to be holding or just equipped on his back. So we're going to use the axe ID. So copy that. We'll paste it in there. The secondary and tertiary IDs are just other equipment slots. We can choose what like slot he has equipped the item-wise. And we're going to choose primary since we pasted that ID in primary. You can paste other items into secondary and tertiary and he'll just be carrying them just like you would with other equipment in-game. So now over in the bottom right we have clothing. We're going to look up a clothing ID for the shirt and for the pants. These are literally what he wears. And then finally we can customize the actual appearance of it. We can set a skin color. We can use pre-made skin tone colors or just a custom color in general. Which is what we're going to use. We're going to use the generic Unturned Tryhard blend in with the grass sweat skin. We can choose his hairstyle and color of his hair, which affects both his haircut and his beard. We can change his face. We can click the random button on all of them to get a randomized face and hair structure. Then we can edit his pose. However, we're just going to use the generic stand. The other ones are good if you want to have them positioned in a certain way on your map, but for this scenario, we're just going to use stand. Alright, now that our NPC is customized, we're going to move on to dialogues. Just a quick recap, we're going to copy this start dialogue. So we're just going to highlight it, Control C. Now we're going to go to the dialogue tab. We're going to click the plus in the top right again. This will now allow us to start making our dialogue. So we're going to paste in with Control V our dialogue ID. Remember, it's 5555 in our file. You can use your own ID. So now we have two pages, the messages and the player replies. We're going to add a message, which is what the NPC says to us. The reply is what we say back to the NPC. So we can text format this however we want. If you open the tips window, if it's not open already, it shows you a few things you can use for formatting. We're just going to use the color format, the last thing that says color equals rarity. You can also just do color equals and then a hexadecimal code. We'll just use 6Fs, which is just a nice white. We can also just put like red, blue, green, orange, yellow. But for this situation, we're just going to use 6Fs, capital Fs. We can put in our text here, hello, by a server from civilhost.net. And then we close the color bracket, much like we're coding in like XML or HTML. This probably looks a lot like plugin XML files, which we'll cover in a different video. So for our reply text, this is what is said back to the NPC. When you click these, different actions will happen that you'll specify here. So we do color equals 6Fs again, and we're gonna put the following text. I will also use the coupon code fall50 for 50% off my first month. And then we'll close the color bracket. And now we have this response. We can add another one, which we're going to use in a second. We're going to set its color again. We're just going to put I will. We're going to use this second reply for a different purpose in a minute. But we're going to primarily focus on the first one we made. So now we can set it to open a vendor ID, which we'll do in a second. First, we're going to create one last dialogue. So don't forget to put the hashtags. I forgot to put the hashtags in those two. If you don't put a hashtag, it won't work. It's just going to say color equals FFFFFF. And you don't want that. This is going to open a quest, which we'll cover in a second after we get through vendors. So now we have our vendor dialog at the top. First of all, I'm going to reorder these because that one at the bottom is going to be used for a different purpose later. So we'll open our vendor tab. And we're going to create a new vendor. We're going to give it an ID, 7121. We'll paste that into the open vendor ID for our vendor dialog response. So now at the top, you have two tabs, vendor name, vendor description. The vendor name shows up at the very top of the NPC, and the vendor description shows up underneath that little title. We can color code this if we want. However, we're just going to use generic text. So now we can choose our item type. We're going to do item or vehicle. For this tutorial, we're going to use item, and we're going to cover vehicles in a different video because vehicles does require some map editing and a couple of different more complex steps. When you click vehicle, it would give you an option to insert like the spawn point name, which you would have to set in your map, which I'll show you in a different video. So now we can choose its sell type. We can choose buy or sell. It's pretty self-explanatory. If it's to buy this, the NPC will purchase it from you and give you EXP. We're going to choose metal scrap for 50 EXP. So if we save this item, for the record, everything's an EXP. You can set a currency GUID on the right if you want to use a custom currency. Now if we do the sell this, we can put the same ID for metal scrap, cost 50. So now you can buy metal scrap for 50 EXP. The comment, just like before in the characters tab, is just for people that are going to be editing this file. If you have multiple items in your vendors, you can choose disable sorting if you want to have them in a certain order. For example, we'll choose whatever ID 68 is, make it cost 50, and now if we were to drag this above the metal scrap with disable sorting enabled, that item will show first. If it was enabled, or if it was like disable sorting was disabled, it would show up in a random order. It's just how the game chooses to order it. Obviously, if you have one or two items, this isn't a big deal, but if you made like a gun dealer with a long list of guns and ammo in the same tab, you want to have the guns followed by the ammo, you'd want to do that. Now we're going to create one more dialogue because when you exit any sort of like action, you need to have a closing dialogue. Otherwise, sometimes the NPC doesn't work. So we're gonna use the I will to for a special purpose in a second after we complete this quest part. But first we got to set this dialogue up. So this is going to be what I call the closing dialogue because I don't really know what else you'd want to call it. It's basically going to be like, have a good day, blah, 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 bye. It literally just closes out the conversation between you and the NPC. So, well, I hope you purchased the server. Have a great day. Obviously, we colored it with the 6 Fs to make it look nice. You'll see once we import this into Unturned. And then we're just going to say bye. Nothing special. We don't need to set any IDs here. It's literally just going to close the conversation. So now, if we went to vendor, we have all of our stuff set up. The vendor's good. If we were to preview this in game, it would open the vendor and then open the other dialogue. Now we're going to move on to the quest. We go to the quest tab. We'll press the plus in the top right. And now it's a more slightly complex window. It's still pretty much the same. We have our quest name, description, and ID. We're going to just create an ID real quick, 5291. Copy it, go back to our dialogue, and paste it in the preview quest ID. Now go back to our quest tab, and we can start creating our quest that the player receives to complete. So we're going to say quest for a free server. And then we're going to say what any sort of text or backstory to it. If you're creating a storyline, you could create your quest title and then be like, John went to the park on Monday and got robbed by a group of 10-year-olds playing on an unturned server with no intention to RP. Help him get his stuff back by killing the 10-year-olds. And then reward the player after they did that. For the situation, we're just going to ask for 10 metal scrap and give him 100 EXP. So to get the quest to work, however, there's a step that needs to be done. There's 2 ways to do it. This is one way, and will cause a little bit of an issue once we import this to Unturned, which you'll see soon. But then I'll show you the other way. So if we add the quest to the player after clicking on this, it'll assign the quest to them and they can complete the quest. And then we need to send them to our last dialogue. So now we're going to add our quest conditions. So we're going to want has item, and then we input the item ID, 67 for metal scrap, and the amount of the item. We're just going to do 10, I believe. Yeah, 10. Well, we want to set take on complete for this quest, since this is like he needs the 10 metal scrap, you need to give it to him. If it's like you need to obtain this for this, then you wouldn't want to tick that because you'd want the player to keep that item. For the reward, we're going to choose experience, and we're just going to give them 100 EXP. And we'll save the reward. Now if we go back to dialogue and we go down to the special thing, this is what is going to be used to complete the quest, because we're going to need a second reply for this to work. So we're going to say I completed the quest. We're going to copy our quest ID, paste it here, conditions, and we're going to want to do has quest status or quest status has quest. That's what it was. So we're going to input our quest ID, 5291, and under progress status, we're going to want to choose ready. This essentially, if it's ready, you've completed all the objectives, you just need to talk to the NPC to complete it. Under the logic, you can set it to all sorts of different logical operators, such as less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to, greater than, or just equal. We're just going to use equal because that's like the one that makes most sense. And then we want to set the change quest status. So basically, if it's ready and we click this, it's going to set the quest to completed. If it's active, it sets it to ready, etc. And then I have no clue what ignore NPC does. We're just going to save condition. And we can close out of here. And then we don't need to set a reward. So now we're going to export the NPC to Unturned, but after a quick recap, this is where you edit the characteristics of your character in the character tab. You can set its editor name, display name, ID, dialogue ID, its conditions. Then you can set its equipment that it has equipped, such as an axe, pickaxe, a gun. You can set its clothing in the bottom right, that's what it wears. In the dialogue tab, we can do all sorts of things to interact with the NPC, different forms of text, different this, different that, quests, vendors, all of that. We can create stores with the NPC using the vendor tab, and we can create quest lines using the quest tab. Like I said, we're not going to cover the currency tab, and I'm going to export the NPC to Unturned and go from there. So quick note, there is a little error that I noticed at the end. We needed to add this dialogue down here. You can always go to the error list, and now you can see we have a dialogue ID conflict. So we're going to go to find and replace, and we're going to look up that dialogue ID 5291. We need to figure out if it's a quest, a vendor, or a dialogue ID, so we're just going to search up 5291, and we're going to replace it with a random number. We'll choose 15313, and it's not a dialogue, so we're going to try a vendor. It's not a vendor, so we're going to try a quest. It was a quest, and we're going to click replace and search, and everything that contains 5291 will replace as 15313, meaning it will work. As you can see, we had no more errors, and now the project's ready to go. So we're going to go to File, Export NPC to Unturned, open Result folder, and now you can see the NPC file. It's defaults to the sandbox folder, which will load on startup. However, you can also just open it, copy all the files, go to your root Unturned directory, go to Bundles at the top. We can scroll up to Bundles. If your thing's zoomed in, you can click Bundles at the top, and go to NPCs, and then just paste it. But we're just going to leave it in Sandbox. Alright, so now that we're in Unturned, we're going to go to Workshop. We're going to go to Editor, and we're going to want to create a new world, or a new map. We're just going to name it Test, and then we're going to click Create, and then we're going to open it in the editor. So I'm going to show you how to insert your NPCs into a map. First of all, if it's a brand new map, we need to create terrain to put it on. So we're going to increase our brush strength. That's a little high. We don't need 10. You're going to see this in a second. But we're going to want a nice large radius just for a lot of land. As you can tell, that strength is extremely high. So just a quick click just made a tower, but it's fine. Now we need to go to find the thing that says players. It's in the levels tab. You click players. And then if you click Q on the ground, it'll add a player spawn. First of all, I need to adjust my camera. So boom, we press E, boom, or Q. Now we have a player spawn. If we go back to level and choose objects, turn off all of the objects and just enable NPCs, and then search up civil host, or the name of your NPC in general. You can press E to paste it into your world, and there he is. As you can see, he's fully clothed and he has his axe equipped. He has his hair and his beard. We'll turn him around and face us on spawn. And now we can just save this world. Press escape, click save, and then exit. Now to actually play our world, we're going to click play. We're going to go to single player, and we're going to choose miscellaneous or MISC, M-I-S-C, and then enter the world that we created, or the map we created called Test. And now we see our tutorial NPC. We can talk to him. He's very nice. He's a great guy. I made him myself. So we can press F on him. First of all, we need to give ourselves some metal scrap. I believe the command was /give crazy. Nope. Okay, so give 67. Yeah. So we just need to give ourselves a lot of scrap. You can install Rocket Mod locally onto your Unturned. I'll show you how to do that in a different video. It's really simple and straightforward. Or you can just import this into a test server, which has Rocket Mod pre-installed through us. So now if we open them up, you can see the text. As you can see, the white is very noticeable and a nice color to read, very readable. So now we have our two dialogue options. I will also use the code blah 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 blah. So we can sell our scrap, get the XP, buy it back, really engaging gameplay, and boom, the closing dialogue. I'm going to reopen that closing dialogue real quick just to show you something. As you can see, we didn't color the text there, and so it's a lot less colored and a lot more ugly. So now we have our quest, give him 10 metal scrap. If we were to open up the quest menu, we can see that we have the quest already essentially completed because we have a crap ton of metal scrap. If we drop it, you can see that it previews on the top right. And now as you can see, we have the I will quest still because we didn't set it up properly. Gonna show you how to fix that. But first we can click I completed the quest, and then if we check our inventory, he's taken the scrap, and if we check our skills tab, we have the EXP. So now we can just repeat the quest over and over and over again if you'd like it to be this way. So we'll just give ourselves scrap again, boom, we have the scrap, I complete the quest, continue. If you want to do that, obviously that's how it works. However, we need to fix the other issue that we're having currently. Most people aren't going to want the quest to show up as you're trying to work on it. So we need to add a condition here. We're going to find quest, has quest, and we're going to want to choose the quest status to none. For the record, this is the dialogue that gives you the quest. We want to have this condition set to has quest progress status to none. Then we want to input our quest ID, 15313, and we want to change the quest status. This would theoretically work. However, the NPC Maker app likes to throw a little bit of an error. So we're going to end up just doing both. You'll see it in a second what I'm talking about. So rewards, it adds the quest to the player. If we delete this and then go to our try to export it, we'll save the project and try to export it. You have a warning. So we're going to check our error list. And boom, it's like it doesn't have a quest preview, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to go back and basically re-add it, even though theoretically this should work. So this is fine. We just now need to go back to rewards, and then we need to assign quest to player. Put in our flag ID, or our quest ID, and then save it. And then now there's no more error. So now we're going to re-export it to Unturned. If you don't regenerate your GUIDs, it'll just overwrite the existing folder. And then now we're going to go back in Unturned, and we're going to press page up. Page up will reload the game, because as you can see, the NPC has not updated. Pressing page up will quickly reload the game. It'll update those files, and it's a great way if you're doing development stuff like this to not have to restart your game entirely. Alright, now that we're back in, well, you can see the other dialogue isn't there because we already have the quest status or progress as completed because we've done the quest. So to fix that, we're going to exit. See, as you can see, we have it set to quest progress status none equals none. So if it's anything other than none, that won't show up. We're going to go down to our test world and we're just going to reset it. And then we're going to reload it. Open the quest. We'll give ourselves metal scrap real quick. Open the quest, click accept. If we reopen him, you don't see that anymore. And then you can complete the quest, and now it's no longer there. We can still sell our metal scrap. And that's how you made a functional NPC and Unturned. Any questions you can leave in the comments below. We will gladly help you. And if you're starting an Unturned server, and you don't actually own a server yet, you can buy one from us. We have US and EU locations, and we have some of the best pricing and hardware out there for it. Way better than certain other companies. Thank you.